Hello and welcome to the Truth Channel. In today's video, we will be looking at Putin, who has just sent a message to Turkey and ISIS that any attack will lead to a full-scale war. Tell us what you think below in the comments.
Now, Turkey and Saudi Arabia, they say they plan to defeat the Islamic State, don't they? What is that plan? What do they have?
Well, the exact strategy is not yet known, but what we know is Saudi Arabia has said they're willing and they're ready to send troops into Syria to fight against ISIL.
I think that Turkey and Saudi Arabia are playing here in Syria a very dangerous game where they're trying to drag countries that they have an alliance with militarily and to drag them into fighting their own war.
If there is any consensus among the coalition to send troops on the ground, Saudi Arabia will be ready to send the troops on the ground.
This word game is similar to claims that there is a plan B, claims that it's time to prepare ground troops. It's a slippery slope.
Turkey and Saudi Arabia could be gearing up to launch a ground operation in Syria. That's according to Turkey's top diplomat, who said they are ready to act if a common anti-ISIL strategy is worked out. He added that Riyadh is sending warplanes and possibly troops to a Turkish airbase, with Saudi officials already having arrived to inspect it. The exact number of jets has not yet been revealed. Well, that airbase in question is Ingurlik, located in the city of Adana, which borders Syria. It's currently home to both Turkish and American Air Force units used to launch strikes against Islamic State.
Red Alert, guys. The situation in Syria is getting to a point where World War III against Russia can start any moment now. This video is going to be a little bit different from my previous video on Saudi Arabia and Turkey to attack Syria. It's going to be a different video in a way that the purpose of this video is to tell you that you need to prepare for World War III and you need to prepare for a major global financial collapse. You see, to grasp the full danger of World War III in Syria, I want you to remember the history. Only 70 years ago, basically the same sides that are fighting in Syria today, Russia vs. United States, they had a war where more than 50 million people died. Those people are making plans for 50 and 100 years in advance. We live according to their plan. We live according to their agenda. Everything is correlated. The mainstream media is playing with our perception, trying to move away our attention from the real things and important things that are taking place right now. Same group of people who started World War II are implementing this plan in Syria right now. You need to comprehend that the war, it's in their blood. Just look at the history, how many wars there was between Russia and Turkey. If there was something like 12 wars between Russia and Turkey, that already happened. Those wars already happened in our history. So let me ask you, why this time will be any different? What the hell is going on in the meeting of Pope Francis and Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill? It was confirmed that the possibility of two churches' political association to counter the genocide of Christians. During their historic meeting, two Christian hierarchs signed a joint declaration which many hope will open a new chapter in relations between the Russian Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches. What agreements or documents are they signing there? Are they signing some type of new religion for us? These talks have confirmed that the possibility of the two churches' political association for carrying out specific tasks in the fight against genocide of Christians. What that's supposed to mean? These two popes are meeting for the first time in our history, and World War III is about to start. Guys, this is a historic moment, I'm telling you. Given the extreme that everyone is bombing ISIS in Syria, several Russian government officials have warned Saudi Arabia that any military ground operation in Syria would be a declaration of war. President Vladimir Putin said that Russian cruise missiles could be equipped with nuclear warheads. Russia is in a new Cold War with the US and its allies. Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev said that
Syrian crisis is one of the factors that's been pushing Moscow and Western powers towards a new Cold War. That's according to the Russian Prime Minister during a face-to-face meeting with NATO's Secretary General.
NATO is undertaking the biggest reinforcement of our collective defense in decades. We agreed to enhance our forward presence in the eastern part of the alliance.
NATO relations towards Russia remain close and unfriendly. In stronger words, we have reached the level of a new Cold War, and Mr. Stoltenberg highlighted that. Sometimes I wonder whether we live in 2016 or 1962.
Well, that Turkish-Saudi announcement comes right after America's top diplomat warned against any destabilizing actions in Syria. Whether Riyadh and Ankara will heed that warning remains to be seen.
Almost everybody has agreed that if all one side does is escalate, the other side will too. And we can have an endless escalation between Iran, between Shia, between Sunni, between Saudi Arabia or Turkey or Qatar or any country of interest has the ability to blow this apart.
the stage for the global economic collapse and World War III is set. Saudi Arabia said that 350,000 troops from more than 20 Persian Gulf Arab nations will participate in an exercise called North Thunder. The drill will take place in the northern part of the country. It has been described as the largest military maneuver in the history of the region, according to the Press TV. Turkish armed forces began heavy artillery fire earlier this Saturday, targeting Kurdish positions in what Turkish military officials called a retaliation. The shelling also targeted Syrian forces, according to RIA Novosti. The Turkish shelling of Kurdish positions continued for over 3 hours, almost without a break. The Turkish forces were using mortars and missiles and firing from the Turkish border, not far from the city of Azaz in the Aleppo. You see, all sides, including US, Russia, Saudi Arabia, pretend to be working towards a ceasefire and a diplomatic solution in Syria, but their actions speak much louder than their words. An exceptionally provocative move by Turkey clearly indicates that the first stage of World War III has started. The other day, my wife told me that she's the happiest woman ever. Thank you, my protein, for the top quality nutrition, and thank you for the most exciting sex with my beautiful wife. Did you know that there are 2,000 genes inside your body that are being regulated by vitamin D? The biggest secret to good health is that the genetic system and DNA cannot function properly if you do not have enough of vitamin D inside your body. Try to think how your life would be different if your DNA could function like Windows 11. Sexy ladies love smart guys. Click the card there or click the link below this video to learn more.
Well, the timing of this announcement coming from Saudi Arabia is significant because it comes just 2 days after world powers have finally agreed on a cessation of hostilities across Syria to be implemented, hopefully in a week's time. Now, nobody knows if that ceasefire will actually happen, but it is a huge step forward following months and months of peace talks and negotiations in a bid to end the conflict in Syria. And while those efforts are taking place, we heard from Saudi Arabia that hinting at the possibility of launching a ground operation in Syria. And Saudi Arabia is already facing criticism for it.
I will not put American boots on the ground in Syria. We should not be drawn once more into a long and costly ground war.
Putting boots on the ground, I think, would be a profound mistake.
It will not involve American combat troops fighting on foreign soil. The resolution we've submitted today does not call for the deployment of U.S. ground combat forces to Iraq or Syria.
We cannot defeat Daesh in Syria unless we bring about change in Bashar al-Assad. We cannot defeat Daesh in Syria unless we bring about change in Bashar al-Assad. So when Assad goes, the fertile environment in which Daesh operates in Syria will be removed, and we can deal with them.
A ground operation by foreign troops in Syria would lead to a full-scale war. Moscow is against ground operation in Syria, as it will lead to a full-scale war, Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev said. No one is interested in a new war. A ground operation will lead to a full-fledged war. Saudi Arabian Foreign Minister Adel al-Jubeir has warned that if Syrian political process fails, President Bashar Assad will have to be removed by force. Saudi Arabia will push as much as they can to ensure that the goal is achieved in Syria to remove Assad.
So as you can see, for Saudi Arabia, the fight against ISIL and the bid to overthrow President Assad's regime should go hand in hand. So it remains to be seen if Saudi Arabia is to send in troops into Syria. Who exactly are they fighting against? Is it ISIL or President Assad?
Russian aviation has helped the Syrian army to break through a 3-year blockade of 2 strategic cities in the Syria's north. This victory has brought fatal consequences for ISIS. The Syrian government is back on the winning track, thanks to Putin. Russian aviation in Syria has destroyed nearly 1,900 terrorist facilities during 510 sorties from February 4th to February 11th. So in 1 week, Russians have destroyed nearly 1,900 terrorist facilities in Syria, Russian defense minister said. The Dutch government said on Friday that it has decided to carry out airstrikes against Daesh or ISIS terrorist group in Syria. The US-led international coalition continued bombing targets across Syria, while demanding that Russia stops its own campaign as part of a ceasefire deal. US-led coalition against ISIS carried out 24 airstrikes in Iraq and Syria. Russians have carried out 1,900 airstrikes in 7 days, and US coalition has carried out only 24 airstrikes. I showed you some facts and the hard evidence from the mainstream news. It is important to acknowledge the fact that World War III is about to start in Syria any moment now. In my previous video, I explained that using a map that Putin was given the green light to start bombing campaign against ISIS in Syria. It was a first step. And the second step, when Russia is heavily involved in bombing ISIS and cannot escape that, is to start war against Russia in Syria.
I order to act in the toughest way. All parties threatening the Russian forces and our infrastructure on the ground are to be destroyed immediately.
России. Слава народу-победителю! С праздником! С Днем Великой Победы! Ура!